Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dopamine Dealer podcast. Today, we're peeling back the skin on the creative process. We aren't talking about gear or hustle. We're talking about the biological machinery that runs the artist. Joining me is a great friend of mine. He's a DJ. He is also the creator of the Artist Immunity Blueprint. What he does is he tries to help you figure out why your brain's currently at war with your output. We're going deep on burnout, the chaos of nightlife, and why your laziness might actually be a survival mechanism. Let's get into it. Everybody, welcome my good friend, Ples Jones.
Hello, peace and blessings to everyone. Thank you for having me, Dylan. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for coming on, my friend. Ever since I met you that day, at the gym, we had a lot of talks, and you actually really inspired me to take that step to do this for myself. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on. And hopefully 3 years from now, we can look back and be like, this was the beginning for us both.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So I got some pretty good questions for you today, my friend. I feel like you and me are very similar, even though we're, obviously we're from two different generations. I see a lot of me in yourself, man. And again, you've motivated me greatly. So the first question that I have for you here,
Mhm.
we're going to call this the lazy myth. Your press kit has a line that hit me hard. Burnout isn't laziness, it's survival mode. Most of us feel like lazy pieces of shit when we can't create, or maybe go to the gym or get whatever you want done that day because you're just so overwhelmed with your own thoughts.
Mhm.
What is the biological difference between actually being lazy and your nervous system shutting down?
Okay, so quick distraction because if we mislabel it, we get the wrong fix, right? So lazy is I don't want to. Survival mode is I can't. So basically, laziness is a choice. Shutdown is the biological side of what we're talking about because your body senses danger and it pulls away energy from your creativity. And that falls into, the protection side also. So it looks kind of like this, brain fog, dread, procrastination, doom scrolling. I can't even open the laptop. So the fix isn't shame, it's regulation. If someone listening isn't sure which one they're in, I made a free artist burnout checklist where they can check to find out where their energy is actually leaking. I think that's the best recommendation I can give you right now.
No, that sounds great, man. And make sure after this that you send me that or send me the link to your socials, and I'll make sure to put it in this video. So if certain people are struggling again, I can't tell you how much that even the couple short conversations I've had with you have motivated me. If you're looking for somebody out there to really put some mental wisdom into your brain, trust me, there's a lot of days I wake up and don't want to go to work and I see he posts something and it's just like, okay, Dylan, I'm just, I'm in my head. This isn't reality. Like, I'm just worrying so much. And it's so much about putting yourself more in the moment, putting your phone down, getting away from those distractions and realizing that you are in control of 99% of things that are wrong. Like, yes, there's some things you can't fix, but the majority of thoughts that run through my head that make me depressed or anxious or whatever, I realize it's because I'm not acting on the thoughts, you know? And
Correct.
that's a big thing with it, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So number two, and I know I feel like this, I've been a server. I currently work at a cellular phone store. We're always under pressure. Sometimes I struggle with feeling like if I'm not telling myself these negative thoughts, I'm not going to be motivated.
Right.
So a lot of us, we feel like we're addicted to the chaos because laziness is seen as a forbidden thing sometimes, but obviously we all need downtime. A lot of creatives only know how to work when they are panicked or stressed out, kind of like the mode I get into at work a lot. We use anxiety as fuel. If you take away the panic, how would you say that people can still get things done without beating themselves up and feeling motivated, maybe in a positive way instead of a negative?
That's a very good question. And a real fun fact to all the listeners out there, Dylan and I have worked at the same company. He works for Verizon. I used to work for Verizon. So I can definitely relate to his stress when working for a big business as Verizon. So again, to answer your question, well, this is why creatives feel best under pressure. It's that chemistry that happens. Panic spikes adrenaline and dopamine, but it only works temporarily. Because, it's like jumping a car battery. Turns on, but then it overheats, right? So your brain starts associating creation with emergency. So without anxiety, you feel unmotivated. But really, you're just missing the chemical whip. So the goal is structure instead of panic. Tiny deadlines, a pre-session ritual, and a short start line. That's the best recommendation. And that's what I've created something else called the 27 or the starter kit for artist immunity blueprint. And it has tools and rituals to help artists create without needing to be on fire.
No, that's beautiful, man. I mean, I struggle myself with having to self motivate, and sometimes it's my brain beating myself up. But then I realize, like, a lot of the times when you constantly are telling yourself negative thoughts, it's so hard to get those out of your brain. And it's just like your brain gets used to that negativity. Whereas what I try to do when I wake up now is I tell myself, okay, today may have this, and this happen, but I believe in myself that no matter how stressful my day is, that I will get through it, I will prevail, and I will try my best. And that's the big thing I'm trying to speak out loudly even to myself is as long as I show up and I try my absolute best, even if I don't, get say 10 cells in a day, if
Right.
I tried every single option and then let my anxiety win throughout the day and be afraid to ask questions or to try to attempt to make the cell, then I have nothing to feel bad about. But it's so much easier said than done because your brain is almost like a muscle that you trained. And if you just start trying to look through a different lens instead of the pessimistic,
Mhm.
slowly over time, your brain gets used to that. And then it's not as hard to get yourself thinking more positive.
Any of us, whether we're artists or creatives or we're just going into our grind each day, you got to have the right mindset. And, if you're not happy, you definitely need to make changes in order for you to be able to tolerate work. You don't have to go in skipping every day, but you can go in with a positive attitude and knowing that you're giving it 100%. And that's the best that you can possibly give, despite what other people may say, what your manager. I mean, again, I worked at Verizon for over 20 years and I spent time inside and I know what those customer sales and service places are like, the pressure that the bosses put on you. But how I survived it is that I knew I was giving my best every day, whether or not they liked it or not. And I was able to, enjoy it to the best of my ability. So that way, every day wasn't, such a difficult thing.
Yeah, man. It's sometimes like I always say, and I used to hear this growing up a lot and thought it was corny, but the fake it till you make it. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I just fill my brain with, okay, like your brain automatically, my brain goes into this mode where it's like, what if I have mean people all day? What if this happens? What if that happens? Well, what if I have nice people all day? That's the reason I love my job is being able to sit there and hear other people's, trauma that they're going through and stories they're going through. Sometimes being a sales guy, I feel like a therapist and I love it because there are days where I don't make sales but if I have someone leave the store feeling better than when they came in simply because they feel like, hey, there's someone else in the world that understands what I'm going through and is also going through something and it uplifts them, to me, that feels better than even a successful sell.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I feel like when I die, my biggest thing I want is to make an impact on other people and to make sure that they don't let their demons win because I've been very close myself, to letting that happen, man. And I just want all the listeners and people to know out there that you're not alone, that we all get crazy thoughts of
Yes.
negativity and everything else, but it all starts with you starting to recognize those thoughts and replacing them with positive. And from there, the world is your oyster.
That's right. Yeah, it's our egos. Our egos always get in the way. Our egos are the reason why we make bad decisions and we overthink and we stress and we do things because our ego gets in the way. We have to fight our ego and kick it out of our head. There's no place for our ego in our life, really. But at this point, whenever we're dealing with anxiety and stress and different things, ego always gets in the way and adds fuel to the fire. So we definitely have to push it out the way.
Well, it does, and I also feel like ego, you can kind of see it as a defense mechanism in a way to like help you with confidence, but at the same time, it can destroy you or just make you not a nice person. Like I feel like one of the biggest skills I learned from taking inner communication classes at college is to put your ego aside sometimes. Like we all, when I was a kid, for example, I thought like I was the only person with a soul in my body. Like I didn't realize that everyone walking around me, probably thinks just like I do. Like everyone's life is similar no matter what your background is, just in terms of going through negatives, going through positives, wanting to be happy, wanting to find love, all these things. And it's like the media tries to diversify us so much and make us seem like we're almost different species, but it's like we're all humans going through the same things. And I personally think that if more people would have an ego death, the world would be a better place because you realize like, hey, this dude at Walmart, that's just going through the aisles is probably having a lot of shit going on in his life that's just like mine. And it's like if you just start looking at people like you look at yourself in those types of ways, I personally have noticed my social anxiety just diminish simply because we're all equal.
Yes. Yes.
Now,
Absolutely. I agree with you.
No, those were some really good points, bro. That's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. I love doing interviews and stuff, but I can't tell you how happy it makes me having you on here because
Thank you.
again, I think a lot of the mental health stuff, you're on the same page as me. And
Yes.
that is important. And it's nice to know that there's, other people out there trying to spread love like that, bro.
Thank you. Yeah. And just a disclaimer that even though I focus my mental health on creatives, artists, musicians, DJs, songwriters, etc., it is for everyone because anyone who's feeling the pressures of the world, the day, life, what I teach and what I talk about can apply to you.
No, that's beautiful, bro. So, to everybody out there, if you currently are in a situation where you don't have health care, obviously he's not a therapist professional. However, everything he says is a lot of what my therapist says. He's a really good guy and he'll help you with whatever you're going through. That's for sure. So this next you're welcome, bro. The next question I have here for you kind of ties into the last one. So it's something called the fake rest trap. You talk about rest that isn't actually rest. So I know a lot of us sometimes, like me on my off days, I'll sit there and I'll scroll on my phone on TikTok for 3 hours and feel like I just wasted my day off. Do you think is scrolling on social media simply just scrolling for say 3 or 4 hours on your off day? Do you think that actually makes the burnout worse than you doing something productive that might give you some dopamine, like real dopamine?
Right. So rest can look like rest and still not downshift your body. And I think that's what, you know, getting on to like TikTok, IG for hours to actually rest. Actually, that's not rest. That's numbness. Real rest downshifts the nervous system. Scrolling stays stimulating. Micro stress, comparison, microadrenaline. Yeah, you get time off, but your body doesn't get safety. And that's the key. I mean, even with myself, sometimes I have tried it to see if, scrolling a little bit at night relax me, and it does not. It does not. My brain is still moving and it's like I can't do this. I need to totally relax. So, if you're burnt out, doom scrolling is like drinking salt water. Okay. And this is one of the leaks again that circling back to the free PDF checklist that I have, and also the starter kit because it gives replacements that still feel easy, but actually recharge you. So those are the most important things I can leave with you is that, get off the internet before you're trying to relax. If you're not going to sleep for 2 or 3 hours, sure, stay on it. But if you're getting ready to go to sleep within an hour, almost 2 hours, get off the internet. Let your mind detox from that mental stimulation. Because believe it or not, even if you're just scrolling, I look at relaxation stuff sometimes, it still stimulates the mind. The key is to get away from it so that way you can calm down and, rest and go to sleep.
No, I think those are some good pointers, man. I watched this documentary and it said, back in like the early 1900s, right? You
Hmm.
get bored, you have to find a hobby or you have to find something to give you that creative dopamine that we all kind of feel like we need. Now you just go on Facebook and your brain gives you like fake dopamine. It's not something that we're creating. It's not even something that's good for you, but you feel like this is nice just sitting here scrolling on my phone. Meanwhile, everything you're seeing, all the good, but also all the bad, is going into your brain. And then subliminally, you're having thoughts that might be coerced based off what you see on Facebook. That's not reality. And I try myself when I'm off to put my phone down for at least 2 or 3 hours and just, okay, what's coming into my head that I feel like I need to work on? Because if you're just, on your phone all day scrolling on Facebook, most of the thoughts you have are not going to be your own thoughts. They're going to be thoughts that were triggered by something you've seen on Facebook, which again, you figure 100 years ago, my grandpa, he didn't know what the heck was going on in China every second of the day. Now we're tied in with all these news telling us all this crazy stuff all the time. And it's like sometimes the best thing you can do, like you said, is just put your phone down and focus on your immediate surroundings and what you have control over because all the headlines and crazy stuff going on right now, none of us have control over. What we do have control over is ourselves, our own actions, and how we can motivate those around us. And we might not be able to change the world, but if you start just trying, in your local community, it can spiral, you know?
Yeah. I also recommend meditation. I started meditating back in 2022. I had got injured on the job and it was a very painful injury and there was drama at the workplace and I was going through some really difficult stressful times and I wasn't allowing my mind to calm down. And that's when I jumped on the whole mindfulness and meditation to calm my mind. And I started out like meditating 5 minutes, and then, it went up to 15 minutes. Because one thing people have to understand, that silence is golden. Like, some people don't like quiet time, but it actually benefits the mind. There's proven medical and scientific research that says silence, silent time is good for the mind. And once I started doing that, that changed everything. It helped me control and regulate my stress and helped me not to overstress about what's happening in the future. So meditation is a big part of my life, and I recommend it to anybody who's listening to start it. Whether it be listening to, like someone who will talk to you while you meditate, or just being in total silence. Either way, for people who are trying to rest or relax at the end of the day, that's the best thing to do, is meditate or write down, like in a journal, what you want to work on, or what you're doing. And that will put you in a totally different mindset before you go to bed, or rest.
No, I'll be honest with you, bro. That's one of the biggest things that since I started therapy, my therapist has recommended. And I struggle with myself so much. I have really bad ADHD, which honestly I use as an excuse a lot. It's like I constantly need stimulation. And whenever we're doing things like, scrolling on Facebook all day, that's not the kind of stimulation that's going to make me feel better. So honestly, bro, after we're done with this, if maybe you could send me a link or two to some of your favorite ones, I wouldn't mind doing that myself today. I feel like that is the way to really see what will make you happy, is when you give yourself that time to, detox from all the stimulation around you and really get in touch with the thoughts that are going on in your brain. And again, I am a perfect person that needs that myself, bro. I struggle to sit still all the time. So I think you
Calm
saying that's going to be my motivation.
You're welcome. Calming the mind is the most important thing. Just something quick for everyone, if they're dealing with like their mind racing. One thing you can do is to think of three different names of people and then think of three different body parts in a row, and that will break that racing mind, and you'll be able to get control again. Like, 'cause sometimes even I have to do that. I have to calm down, and those are tools that I use to so that way you can get a hold of your brain and, like, all right, stop. You have to stop, calm down, and then continue to figure things out up there.
Well, that's why I think it's so important for people like you and myself to be putting, podcast videos or reels out speaking about this, because I know myself when I was growing up, I thought I was the only one that had to battle my brain. And I think a lot of people feel like that. Like, you always see all these successful people, and yeah, it's great to be successful, but you never seen them in the dark room. You never seen them at their struggles, and how many times they had to have conversations with themselves in their heads to get themselves out of that negative mindset. So I just want everyone listening to know, doesn't matter who you are, we all go through those thoughts. The only thing that is different between someone who's successful and not, in my opinion, are ones that realize, hey, I need help. And that is the first step in mental health, is realizing, hey, I have a problem, but I also can fix that problem. But the first step is admittance and recognition of said problem. And then from there, you can work on it. I try every day. Like, when I wake up negative, as soon as I get to work, I'm thankful that I work somewhere where I have people that care and listen to me, in terms of my coworkers and bosses. And if I just say, hey, I woke up feeling like crap today because of this, this, and this, and I just talk for 5 minutes, to be honest with you, it helps it get out of my head. And how you mentioned journaling, I always make jokes about myself, like I'm a teenage girl with a diary, but I actually downloaded a diary app. And I realize, like, a lot of times in the morning I wake up with so much anxiety, but then I get myself to work and it's usually a good day. But it takes getting that negative energy out of your body, whether you're journaling, talking to someone, whatever, you got to get it out.
Yep, I agree. My starter kit has a journal. It comes with a journal. It comes with some cool wallpapers, and then it comes with some audios that you can use for like meditation and relaxation to help people calm down and just guide them through whatever stressful moment they're going through.
Especially with the way the world is today, man. Everyone tries to get us all thinking pessimistic and being depressed and what ifs, what
Mhm.
ifs, what ifs. Got to stop that sometimes so you can actually see, like, hey, life isn't that bad. There's a lot of people out there that, in my opinion, from working customer service, I see good people every day. That's the only reason I still do it. The majority of people I talk to that are comfortable enough to open up feel exactly like we do. And it's nice to see how many other people openly will admit that, because it takes courage to admit you're struggling. But at the end of the day, we all struggle. So there's no point in hiding it and feeling alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Well said.
No, I appreciate that, man. On to this next part. This is part two of the questions. It's going to switch a little bit. This one's on industry and ego.
Okay.
So the algorithm versus identity. You say the nervous system is bottleneck, not the algorithm. But be real. If I'm a Zen and regulated, but the algorithm hates me, I'm still broke. How do you balance mental peace with the fact that we have to play the social media game to eat when you're an artist or if you're just trying to blow up?
Well, that's a very good question. And I think the important thing is peace isn't passive. Panic marketing has its price. Zen doesn't pay rent. That's for sure. But dysregulation makes you inconsistent. Inconsistency kills results. The nervous system decides if you can create, post, follow up, and stay in the game. So we play the algorithm with a calm strategy: minimum effective posting, protective creative hours, and consistency that you can sustain. That's how that's how I operate when it comes to that.
No, I think those are some good pointers. And I think the biggest thing is like you and me both right now. For me, my big thing I want to do with my podcast is just simply make other people realize how similar a lot of us are and that they're not alone. You know, if I would love one day to make enough money off motivating others and uplifting people to make this my career, but just simply since I started 2 weeks ago, just me getting on here and putting myself out there and getting out of my comfort zone, doing something that I've been wanting to do for the last 10 years. I just never had the courage. It's made it a little bit easier at work. It's made it a little bit easier at the gym. It's made it easier when I go places. I'm like, why am I having social anxiety? You know, I'm putting myself out there. People are so similar, but it's so easy to get caught up with like, oh, if I don't get this many likes on this post, it's stupid or blah, 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 blah. It's like everything that's great takes time. And I really realize that it's up to you adapting and just being consistent. Consistency is the biggest thing in the world. No one that is successful only worked hard a couple of days. It's each and every day putting energy into something that will make you happy. And after, you know, months or years of doing that, it's bound to work. It's just that consistency because without it, nothing works.
Right. All right.
So there's something else that I know a lot of people struggle with, myself included: comparison syndrome.
Yeah.
You call comparison nervous system overload. When you see a DJ who is objectively worse than you getting bigger gigs, how do you stop that physical reaction of jealousy from derailing your day? Like, okay, hey, I see myself, you know, as better than this guy. I'm more personable, blah, 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 blah. But he, you know, he's out there making tens of thousands of dollars doing the same thing as me.
Yeah. Well, the mind turns into a courtroom, and the body reads it as danger. But jealousy isn't moral failure, it's a nervous system event. So your body hears, I'm falling behind, or why, that person's blown up. So I don't fight it with positivity. I regulate it first. So, and then I turn it into data. Like, what are they doing that's working? When it becomes information, it stops becoming poison. Because as you know, comparison is the number one thief of joy.
100.
So comparison is one of the biggest triggers that I have inside the free checklist that I offer, because it quietly wrecks focus. So again, you go on to social media. That's like, it's almost like social media was created just for that, just for comparison. Because all it is look at me doing this, look at me doing that, look at me doing that. As an artist myself, when I look at other people, I love seeing people win. So first of all, it's a mindset. You got to be happy for people who have success. We live in a world that's so full of judgmentals and so full of things. If you look at somebody, like for me as an artist, like you just said, if I see a DJ who has, who's famous, who's touring the world and blah blah blah, I don't look at him and say, he must have been this or he must have been. I'm like, well done, man. And then I look at the data and see how he did it. If as long as he did it the right way, meaning like he didn't, his brother's cousin wasn't the executive of Sony Music, then I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing how he built his way to get there. And then I look at how I can do it. So then I start using research and doing research, getting that data and saying, okay, well, he did it. So how can I do it? So I never look at people with that kind of jealousy anymore. I look at them as, hey, congratulate. Now, how can I do that? How can I become, if I want to, if this is where I want to go, if they're in line with my path, first of all, because most of them aren't. But if they're in line with my path, then I focus in like, okay, well, how can I do that? How can I be that kind of DJ where I'm getting gigs everywhere. What were the steps? And a lot of times they have an interview just like this where they're interviewing and they're saying, how did you do it? And the person tells them exactly how they got started. And you take those notes and you manifest it and put it into action.
No, that's what it's about, man. To me, that is what I call real confidence. If you can look at someone else instead of getting jealous and be like, okay, this dude's a human just like I am. He did it. Why can't I do it? Or it's like at the gym sometimes, like it took me probably 6 or 7 years to be able to bench 225. And I see guys and they're benching over 400. Well, I'm like, okay, but he meal preps every day. He's in the gym 7 days a week. He does this, this, and that. If I'm not willing to do those things, what's the point in me, seeing myself as less than before? He's putting that work in that may not, be work I want to put in. So me getting jealous or feeling some type of way about it is completely irrelevant to reality. But it's so easy to do, like you said, because of social medias and how our world is. Like everyone, not everyone, but so many people deem their worth off how many likes they get,
Yeah.
or if this person sees me as pretty or handsome or whatever. When the older I get, and I'm only 31, I realize like that doesn't matter. What matters is simply how you treat other people and how you, like you just said, you don't get jealous of them. You look into how they did it. You see them as a human just like yourself because they are, and you see where you might have to pivot, to be able to do something similar to them if that's what you want to do.
Right. And the sad reality of most mainstream influencers is that there is a paid process on how they got hundreds of thousands of likes, follows, listeners, views. It's all about money. It's all about what you can afford. Most of them have paid for those likes. Most of them have paid for those followers. I mean, as an artist, I teach that in my courses, the reality of the music industry and how artists get a million followers after one hit. And it's the same way with all influencers. There's ways to do it and they pay for it and it gives them the appearance that they have all these hundreds of thousands of followers. Now, not to say that there aren't organic ones. They're out there, but they're not as many as the bigger accounts that you see with 200, 300, 400, 500,000 followers. It's just not there.
Well, and that's the thing. And I even, from using Gemini when I first started my podcast, it was telling me like, until you get even, and this is a small number, but 1,000 likes on your page, people could click on your page and think you're inactive or think like, hey, I don't want to like this page. There's not too many other people liking it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like you have to get yourself to a base through paying to even get the chance at possibly being successful with anything anymore. And a lot of people don't have the money to start. So even if you don't have the money to start, to be honest with you, I still believe in putting yourself out there and trying to share with your friends and family and having them share your stuff, whether it's something like me and him are doing or something that you have a passion for. And it's like the podcasting for me. Like a lot of my off days, I would just sit at home and play video games or doom scroll or whatever. And spending a couple hours looking into this has not only made me feel better, but doing more research on mental health has helped myself. And that's what life's about, bro, my man. 100%.
Absolutely. I learned from Aaron Doughty. He's a life coach. And his story was simple. He said, I posted one video a day every day for a year on YouTube. He did that for a solid year. And eventually it picked up. He got into an algorithm. He started getting more views. He started getting more followers. He started getting more subscribers. The key to any of the success online is your consistency of content. You have to be consistent. You have to post a lot and you have to post regularly and it has to be a minimum of 6 months, basically a year. You got to really chug out a year's worth of content so the algorithm knows who you are and it can direct your content to the right, the
No, that's really good advice, man. The algorithm's definitely crazy and it's definitely hard at first, but I'm trying to see it like I seen the gym when I first started lifting. I could barely bench the bar. I was 147 pounds at 6'5". And it was so intimidating for me. But looking back, if I never started the gym, I don't even know if I'd be alive today, to be honest with you. It's helped me so much with confidence and socialization. And the talks I've had with people in the gym are very similar to the talks you and me have had in the gym and that we're having right now. Like it's just helped me realize that I'm not alone in this world. And there's so many other people that think very similar to me, even though we're all different. And a lot of times that gives you a sense of togetherness. It makes you realize like we're all going to die one day. We only get one life. what's the point in letting fear determine your actions? And I'm a hypocrite of it. I still sometimes, I get anxious about situations and end up not doing them. But my big goal this year, my New Year's resolution in quotation marks, is when I have those anxious thoughts to sit down and be like, okay, Dylan, is this my anxiety or is this reality? Because our fight or flight kicks in so often in situations that aren't actually fight or flight. And it's like, as soon as you start realizing that, then you have control.
Very good. Yes, I agree. I agree.
So I know you haven't only played in the United States. You played in UK, Panama, Colombia.
Mhm.
What's the biggest lie would you say that American DJs tell themselves about making it internationally?
Well, geography won't fix what strategy must solve. Because the lie is if I go international, they'll finally respect me. But international doesn't validate you. Relationships do. Overseas isn't a cheat code, it's culture, community, and consistency, and being easy to work with. When I first DJ'd in London in 2017, I was very nervous, but I think what was the best thing was just networking, meeting cool people, inviting me to cool places. You have to be that kind of person or it's not going to work. And that was one of the most wonderful trips I had. And, then I went to Panama and did the same thing. It's the personality and it's the networking where you understand the culture, the community, the people around you. And now I repeatedly go to Cartagena, Colombia. That's where I DJ at now regularly. And again, it's about the culture. I spent a whole month there, and I didn't DJ that whole month. I think I DJed 2 or 3 times out of the whole month. The rest of the time was spent just hanging out with people, culture, food, the people. I had a fantastic time. I built great friendships. I think that's like the biggest and best thing to my memories. And now when I talk to those people, they're like, hey, hermano, which in Spanish is brother. I mean, they view me as a friend because, and as artists and DJs, you don't just export music, you export energy and professionalism. And that's the key is that if anyone who's a DJ wants to take a trip overseas, understand that no one club is just going to put you on. You have to build a network, and building a network takes time. Building a network, you have to have a certain personality. You got to be outgoing. You got to be personable. You got to ask the right questions and you got to hang out with people. It takes time.
Well, and that's one thing I love about traveling. Sadly, I haven't really been to any other countries but Canada. But even going to the West Coast, like I've been to Oregon and Colorado, like I just feel like the people there are a little bit more social than our local community. And I made it a goal every time I went into a place to ask them, hey, man, I'm on vacation. What's your favorite thing to do around here? And I found so many cool off the wall things, dude, that, weren't on top things to do in this town from talking to the locals. And you realize, like, yeah, you might live 2,000 miles away from me, but we have so much in common. And a lot of the stuff you like, I ended up, seeing some of my favorite things that I've seen on vacations, not from Google, but from talking to the locals and asking them, hey, if you had a day off, what would you spend your day doing here? And it's cool to me, because at the end of the day, I don't care who you see on the street, you got something in common with them, and all it takes sometimes is breaking that ice for something to blow up. You make a connection, or simply as simple as, hey, it felt cool talking to that guy. Hopefully I made his day a little bit better. And then that energy you just gave him goes on to the next person he talks to, and the next and the next and the next. And that's how, in my opinion, we can all make a difference, even if we're not, a politician or some special celebrity. Like at the end of the day, we just have to motivate and uplift those around us and not be afraid to admit your weaknesses. And you'll see, I promise, how many other people really are not that different from you.
Right. Those people are relatable. And that's a global thing. That's not just limited to the United States. Anytime I've gone overseas, people that I talk to are just like me. And I think that's why we connect. Again, when I visit Cartagena, Colombia, I walk the streets and I talk to so many different storefront owners, have amazing conversations. And after you're there a few weeks, they get to know who you are. And, they just wave at you as you walk down the street. The culture there is so loving. I love it. I really do. I love meeting new people. I love meeting or finding out about new cultures. I love traveling. Life is too short. And, God created this world for us to travel and to visit and to enjoy. And I highly recommend anybody just get on a plane and get out of the country and explore. And it's fine to do it in a group, but it's even better when you do it by yourself. because it forces you to talk to other people in the community. And then you forge friendships with them that are just lifetime.
No, I honestly, I think that's incredible, man. I think something is simple, which I don't really do this, but I'm going to make it a goal. Like going out to eat by yourself. Is that uncomfortable? It is. But at the same time, I give credit to people who do it because you don't, unless you're scrolling on your phone the whole time, you're in that reality. You're out of your comfort zone. The similar situation for me, and this is way different than going to another country, but for a while in the summer, I was just driving to our local, running track and jogging by myself. And it felt good, like, because usually I use my wife as an anxiety crutch. And anytime I leave the house, I'm usually with her. Or like back in the day, I was scared to even go to, say, somewhere like Walmart by myself. No worries at all. Technology.
Yeah, man, it's a trip.
But yeah, man, I mean, even like facing your fears, whether no matter how small or big they are, it opens the doors to make you realize like all I need is myself. Those around me, they're not aliens, they're other human beings like myself. When you look at someone and you're like, oh, they're thinking my hair looks weird or my face looks weird because I have acne or this or that. None of that is reality. That is the high school method of thinking. We're all out of high school. Well, not all of us, but when you get out of high school, the thing I've learned is all them cliques, all the people that are super judgy to others, they end up miserable. The cool people, as adults, in my opinion, are those that are not like that, that don't separate, but help uplift and motivate those around you. And that to me is what a real leader is.
That's right. Well said. Well said. Yes, I agree.
So now we're on to the last part of the questions. This is part 3.
Mhm.
So we're going to talk about panic creation. You mentioned stop creating from panic, but honestly, panic has produced some of my best work because of the adrenaline. Why is that sustainable for a sprint, but fatal for a marathon?
So adrenaline is not a business plan. Panic is borrowed from energy with interest, actually. So it can work for like, one deadline, but if it becomes your main strategy, your body's going to eventually refuse. And that's the freeze. Because panic is great for that sprint, like you said, but fatal for a career. And I teach that from safety because safety scales.
No, that's 100% real, man. That's something I'm trying to work on myself. I know a lot of the times that I get myself motivated, it is exactly produced off of like the fight or flight method. And it's been sustainable up to this point, but like at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm only 31. Do I want to spend the next 30 years of my life having to go through, oh man, I really don't want to go to work today because it's so stressful. It's like, no, I'm in control of my situation and I
Mhm.
need to, if I'm not happy at work or not happy with the gym or not happy with this or that, I'm in control. I have the ability to change those things. But until I tell myself I have that ability, nothing's going to change.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this next one's a little bit off the wall, but I do like it. We're going to call this the fuck it moment. What is one proof of work or action someone listening right now can do to prove their brain aren't stuck? Give us something small that they could do today to maybe help them get out of their brain and feel a little bit better.
It's not a big plan, just one move. If you're creative or creator, just open the project and make one ugly move. And what I mean by ugly move is rename the file, export a rough 8-bar session, write a trash hook, set a 7-minute timer and stop it when it ends. Now, if you're not a creative, what is your passion? So that's the thing. What is your passion? If you like researching places to travel. Well, do that. Spend 7 minutes doing that. That'll break that freeze that you're concerned about or that's affecting the mind there.
Another thing that I like to do, because a lot of times I wake up and I start thinking negative about work or what may happen, is jotting down 4 or 5 things that I'm grateful for. For example, I'm grateful, that I have food in my stomach, I have a house to live in, I have a 2025 Mazda CX-5. I have a beautiful wife that no matter what I'm going through, she supports me. I can come to her at my weakest moments and she uplifts me. And just with all of that, like, I don't care if it's 2 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day. If you just write down what you're grateful for, it helps you get out of your brain of thinking, like, why me? Why did this happen to me? Well, yes, this bad thing happened for one day, but you have the rest of your life. What about everything around you that is good? Your friendships, your relationships, your family, maybe like for me, for example, just thinking 12 years ago how scary it was for me to walk into a gym. well, I did it, and I try to see a lot of things in my life like that. It's better to try something, realize it's not for you, than to go the rest of your life wondering what if.
Absolutely. An attitude of gratitude is always, I think you should, everyone should start their first thing of the day having that gratitude. Things that you mentioned is obviously different for everyone, but just the fact that you're able to, have a job and take care of your necessities and you're able to eat and have a roof over your head. Those are always constant gratitude moments that you should say. And then even if you're in a tough situation, the attitude of gratitude can kick in there because you have to be thankful that it's not worse. So, that's key when, every morning that you wake up. But, again, trying to unfreeze your brain, you just got to do little things, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, do something that will break that. And as soon as you do that, you're unfrozen. You're no longer in that brain lock, especially as an artist or a creative. And if you're creating content, for social media, that can be difficult and you can get brain freeze because you don't know what to create next. Give yourself 7 minutes, set a timer, write some things down that you're interested in, and watch that just melt away that freeze.
No, that's a really good thought, man. Well, sometimes what I do when I go on my lunch break instead of eat is I'll drive around town and just listen to a positive podcast. And one of the ones that I listened to recently told me something that might sound weird at first, but I've only been trying this for 2 days and I've noticed it helping. It said that since we're all, our brain listens to what we tell it. So the lady I was listening to, and honestly, I don't remember what her name was, but she said something as simple as, hey, when I go outside or walking around my house, I'm looking for a heart, anything that resembles a heart shape. And the analogy she uses is think of your brain like a bouncer at a club. The bouncer determines what gets in, what doesn't get in. So what I tell my brain listens to. Well, since I've started doing this, I notice hearts in places I've driven past 100 times, but never took the time to realize it. And it's making me feel like, what I tell my brain, okay, now I'm consciously and unconsciously looking for it just because I told myself that once. It's the same thing with negatives. If you tell yourself you're stupid or you're a loser or you're ugly or anything like that, and you keep pounding it into your brain, that's what your brain's going to see you as. If you start training that energy towards something a little more positive, like, hey, I might be a little overweight now, but I'm going to the gym and I'm working on it. Instead of like, hey, I'm a fat piece of shit. What am I doing wasting my time going to the gym? No, anyone that is facing their problems like that and trying, you deserve for your brain to be telling you, hey, we're better than we were yesterday.
Yeah.
The other thing is trying to make your brain your best friend. So the things you tell your brain, if you're not going to tell that to your best friend, to your mom, to your sister, why are you saying those things to yourself? Without prioritizing what you tell yourself and being best friends with your brain, there's going to be a lot of times where you might not be able to get through the day.
Yeah, that's very true. That's some very, very good points there. I like that you found some good positive, and that's a great idea. I do follow some pretty good people as well, and they always have those great quotes. I love that bouncer, mentality as far as what you let in and what you let out. That also goes is letting people live in your mind rent free. You have to kick them out. You have to evict them. They don't belong there. There was a show called Prison Break that was many, many
One of my
years.
favorites, bro.
Okay, yes. So anybody who's a Prison Break fan, the main lead actor. I think his first name is Winthrop. I could be wrong, but he gave a very excellent quote. Yeah, they interviewed him, and he said, because you had mentioned about looking at yourself and saying piece of crap and stuff. He said he was victim of that. Like he would say if he didn't know his lines, he would say you're stupid, you're blah blah blah. And so he said the first thing he did is ask yourself, would you tell somebody else that? Would you talk to somebody else like that? Of course not. So why are you talking to yourself like that? You have to be kinder to yourself. You have to treat yourself the same way that you would treat somebody else that was going through that same situation. You wouldn't beat them up. You would build them up. So you have to do the same thing to yourself. If you make a mistake, like it's okay. All right. I regroup. I'm all right. I'm fine. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. Here's the positives from it. You have to be kinder to ourselves.
And I've realized myself, it's easier for me to be kinder to myself when I'm not doing bad things. I personally, myself, am not a religious man. I have nothing against religion, but I try to live my life off of a lot that the Bible does say. Like, for example, treat those around you how you want to be treated. When I was in high school, I thought that was the corniest thing ever, but I realized When I started uplifting those around me, I don't do anything to my wife that I wouldn't want her to do to me. Just living like that, it makes it so my brain is nicer to me because I'm not thinking that I'm a piece of shit because I don't do anything bad to anybody. And that was a big thing for me. Like when I got out of high school, I was bullied my whole life. So I'm like, fuck the world, fuck people are all assholes, blah, 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 blah. But you know what that's doing? That's making all the people that ever made me feel like that win. And life's too short for that. You know what I mean? Like we're all in control of our brains with that bouncer analogy. You choose what you let in, you choose what you react to. And it's crazy how complex our brains are, but that's what it takes is recognition, taking a step back, and then truly thinking about that thought. Is it reality or not? It's as
Yep,
simple as that.
it is.
So this is the final question I have for you today, my friend. Again, I can't tell you. I think this might have been the most in depth with talking about mental health. And that's really what I'm trying to do on my channel because, again, yourself, all these motivational podcasts I listen to have motivated me to also be a voice just because I realize some days, you wake up and your brain doesn't give you that positivity that you need. And sometimes as simple as listening to a 20 or 30-minute podcast is that difference maker for me. I can't recommend it enough to everyone that is out there listening right now. If you really start feeling overwhelmed by your brain, go lay in your bed, put on a positive podcast, and really try to let the words that they're saying sink in. It might seem like a gimmick at first, or they're just spraying bull crap. But at the end of the day, whether you see your life with a positive lens or a negative lens, you have to live it. So why not try to make it better?
Right.
So this is going to be the final word. If someone is listening to this podcast today that you and me are doing, and they're currently in that survival mode, that fight or flight, on the couch, anxious, hating their art, having those negative thoughts we were just talking about, what is the first thing they should do? Not the fifth, the first.
Well, first they need to calm down. And, even myself, I have many anxiety moments. First thing you have to do is calm down. So you breathe in 4 seconds, exhale out seven. Do it slowly. And you do that 4 times in a row. That's going to get yourself regulated. And then you name it. You say, okay, this is me resetting. And then mentally you tell yourself, just calm down. Everything's going to be fine, but the breathing exercises are key at first just to get that anxiety regulated. I do, 4 seconds in, 7 seconds out, 3 to 4 times. And usually by then I'm starting to feel a certain kind of way, which is relaxed. And
Which is
then go ahead.
it's crazy to think about, but I have to do that a lot. Like when I'm dealing with angry customers or something at work, like sometimes, it comes up to where I really want to speak my mind, but then I'm like, is this person energy? Am I letting it become my own? Am I willing to lose my job because they said something mean and then I look like the bad guy? Then I have to go home and be filled with regret because I let them into my consciousness to the point that I made a reaction that isn't myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, another practice I do is called RAIN: recognize, acknowledge, investigate, and nurture. So, again, if you're on the couch, if you're stressed out, or if you're going through something, you go through the RAIN process. RAIN is you recognize what's going on. So, I'm having these chest pains or I'm having anxiety. You investigate, well, why am I feeling this way? What does my body need from me right now? Or, excuse me, let me spell it right. You recognize, you acknowledge that it's there. The key is to acknowledge it. Once you recognize that you're having this anxiety, a lot of people push it down here. But the A part of RAIN is to acknowledge that it's there. Okay, I'm having these feelings right now. Then the I comes in, the investigate. Why am I feeling this way? What does my body need from me right now? And then finally, the nurturing part is where you nurture. I usually put my hand on my heart and just pat it and take some deep breaths and say, it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. What is happening to me is only temporary. I'll be fine. And then you're nurturing yourself back to a calmer state. And the RAIN exercise, the RAIN practice is a fantastic exercise that I highly recommend anybody when they're going through. And it takes time. Like it's not a 5 minute thing because when you recognize that you have the problem and then you acknowledge it and then you investigate, investigating is where it takes the time. Where is this coming from? Why am I feeling this way? But it's okay to have those feelings. Just let them out. Let them out, whether you cry, whether you're just stressed. And then, even you can even mimic it. Like if it's hurting to the point where you put your head down, put your head down. But then when you nurture is when you take those deep breaths, those exercises, you smile, and then you just pat your heart like it's going to be okay. You got this. And you will be surprised how well that exercise actually works.
No, I think that's like I've said a couple of times. I think the first step, like you said, is simply acknowledging it. But one piece of advice that I've heard that I think is great, like say you're feeling depressed, that's an emotion you're feeling, but that's not your identity. Just because you feel sad or something bad happens doesn't mean, oh my God, the rest of my life's going to be like this. I've learned from some of the lowest points in my life that I've hit. Going through that and coming out on top has made me the happiest I've ever felt. Without the bad days, what are the good days? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I just want to tell you, man, that I appreciate you sincerely for coming on today. I think a lot of the stuff we talked about is so important to be in people's feeds today with all the negativity and stuff we have going on. And I just want to give something out there to the listeners today. If you're feeling stuck out there, remember you aren't a broken machine. You're a human system. You are in control. You're just responding to the high pressure environment that we all, are a part of and live in. If this conversation hit home, I want you to try that first thing we talked about today before you open another app. Simply put your phone down, really try to get in touch with your emotions, your thoughts, what you want out of this life, because every day feels like trash day. Time just keeps going faster and faster, and there's no moment like the current to try and get what you want done. A huge thanks again to DJ Ples. Again, he is the one, honestly, more than anyone, who motivated me to start doing this podcasting, because I seen him as another human being at the gym, and I seen him as someone that, like, okay, this guy has the courage to put himself out there. I've been wanting to for 10 years. And you know what? Now it's just like, I'm going to put out there what I want to put out there. If people don't like it, well, that's okay. We're all entitled to our opinions, but I'm not going to live my life in a way out of fear because of what other people think. And I can tell that Ples does the exact same thing. And we can't tell you guys enough that we recommend it for you. And I hope that you guys all tune into the next episode. I think me and my man here are done. I hope you all have a good day. And thanks again for tuning into the Dopamine Dealer podcast. All of the links for Ples are going to be in a lot of my posts. So make sure you show my man some support. And I hope you all have a dopamine fantastic day.
Peace.